Okay, so you have your fraction pieces. You were given the problem 1/2 plus 1/4. This is how you would solve it. First, I'm going to start with my 1 whole. I want to start with the 1 whole every time because I'm comparing it. So when I get done, I can see if my sum is less than, greater than, or equal to a whole. The fractions I'm adding are 1/2 plus 1/4. I take my two fractions I'm adding, 1/2 and 1/4, and I'm going to line them up down below. Now when I put those two fractions there, it tells me this is 1/2, this is 1/4. Those added together, the sum of these is going to be less than 1. And how much less than 1? It's going to be whatever this space is less than 1. But that's kind of like when we estimate. This gives me an idea of whether my answer is going to be right or not. Now what I want to do is I want to find something with the exact same denominator that will fit evenly under all of these. So let's just say I wanted to see if my thirds will fit under there. Nope. If I put another third here, it'll be too big. So the thirds won't. But let's say I can put 12s. Let's see if 12s fit there. Okay, 1/2 equals 6 12s, and 1/4 equals 3 12s. So my answer to this could be 9 12ths. That is an answer for this. But let's see if we can come up with any others. My tenths don't look like they work. No, tenths aren't going to work. Eighths. No, eighths don't quite work. Just a little too short. No, eighths do work here. Let's see. Yep, 6/8 works. So I could say 1/2 plus 1/4 is 9 12ths. Or 1/2 plus 1/4 is 6/8. Or, let's see, I could say 1/2 plus 1/4 is 3/4. Now what you're saying here, Mr. McMurdo, is how in the world did you get 3 different answers for one problem? It's a darn good question. And I'm glad you asked me that, Kipton. I am glad. Because these 3 fractions are the same value. It's like, say I had a $10 bill and I had a roll of quarters. That's the same amount. It's just different. So maybe I would throw a $10 bill at Addison, but I would throw a roll of quarters at Austin. And I'm hitting them with the same amount of money, right? One is just more fun than the other. Now, how do I know these 3 fractions are equivalent? Well, I can simplify. Last week we learned to simplify. We had the fraction 9 12ths, and we found our common denominators for our factors of 9. We had our factors for 12. And we found the biggest one they had in common. And if we divide them by the greatest common factor, we get 3/4. If I did the same thing with 6/8, they would all simplify down to 3/4. Because what you're looking for is the biggest pieces you can put that fit exactly underneath it. So let's look at another one. And again, we'll start with our 1 whole. Then we'll put our problem up there. Let's do 1/2 plus 3/8. So we have 1 whole. Our first part of our fraction is 1/2. The second is 3/8. So I take my eighths and I put down 3 of them together here. So now we have 1/2 plus 3/8. Is my answer going to be less than, greater than, or equal to 1? Less. Good. Thank you, Braden. Less than 1. This much less than 1. It doesn't fill up all the way past 1, so it's less than 1. So now let's just think about, I don't want to take all these pieces and see if I can fit them under there or not. That's a lot of work. But last week I learned how to find the least common denominator. In fact, that was one of the assignments that you had last week, was the least common denominator. We watched some videos and stuff like that. So we're going to use least common denominator for half, or for 1/2 and 3/8. Remember, when we do that, we take our two denominators, which in this case are the 2 and the 8, and we're going to look down the multiplication chart, the row that's for 2 and the row that's 8. Since I don't have one up here to show you, I'm just going to write it out. 4, 6, 8, 10, 8, 16, 24. Oh, but wait. That one has an 8 and that one has an 8. That tells me my least common denominator for 2 and 8 is going to equal 8. My least common denominator for 2 and 8 is going to equal 8. That means I can take my 8ths, and they should fit evenly under this and give us an answer. Anybody know how many 8ths are in 1/2? How many 8ths are in 1/2? 4 8ths, good. And I can see that right there, where 1/2 equals 4 8ths. And 3 8ths is already 8ths. I can just slide that down. And since 3 8ths is already over 8, I have 3 8ths equals 3 8ths. Now I can add these two fractions together because they have the same denominator. You cannot, and I repeat, cannot add or subtract fractions unless they have the same denominator. What we did is we just took and we used our fraction pieces and we found the same denominator. 1/2 equals 4 8ths, and 3 8ths is 3 8ths. Now they both have a denominator of 8, and 4 8ths plus 3 8ths is 7 8ths. Thank you for the 3 of you that are paying attention. 7 8ths. But what if it goes greater than 1? Well, that doesn't change the difficulty at all, actually. If we had the problem 3/4 plus 1/3. 3/4 plus 1/3. That is going to be our problem. 3/4 plus 1/3. All right, so we start with 1. We have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and then we have 1/3. 3/4 plus 1/3. That tells me my answer is going to be greater than 1. My answer is going to be 1 and then a fraction. 1 and then a fraction, because it's this much greater than 1. I can find my denominator pieces the same way I did last time if I wanted to. Or I could just do some guessing and checking. 10s don't fit. I could try 8ths. 8ths fit here, but they're not going to fit under the 3rd. That's too big. Okay, so I could do some guessing and checking. Or I could take my two denominators, 3 and 4, and I can list my multiples out. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 4, 8, 12. There you go. If I had a multiplication chart, that'd be real easy to use because I'd look through here and I'd find 12 as the first number that fits under both of them. So I want to change these so they both have denominators of 12. So 1/4 equals how many 12ths? Does anybody know how many 12ths are in 1/4? 1/4 has... Are y'all even with me today? Good. 1/4 has 3 12ths. If 1/4 has 3 12ths, 3/4 has how many 12ths? 3. Speak up now. 6.
9.
9. Thank you. So 3/4 is the same as saying 9 12ths. 3/4 is the same as saying 9 12ths. And how many 12ths are in 1/3?
4.
There are 4 12ths in 1/3. So now we have 9/12 and 4/12. And 9/12 plus 4/12 gives us 13/12.
13/12.
All right. And does anybody know what 13/12 is? What kind of fraction that is?
Improper.
An improper fraction.
Improper.
Improper fraction. And I showed you some videos, or I posted some videos last week. You could look to convert between the two. But for this purpose, all I need to know is this is 1/12 more. 1/12 greater than 1. That means 13/12, which is what this was here, is 1 and 1/12. 1 and 1/12. We'll do one more, and then I'm going to give you guys some to practice. Oh, let's take 2/5 plus 3/10. 2/5 plus 3/10. Oh, we get our pieces out of the way. We have 2/5. We have 3/10. My answer is going to be less than 1. If I want to find my common denominator easily, it could be my two denominators are 5 and 10. I find my common denominator is 10. So 3/10 I can leave the same. 2/5, I need to figure out how many tenths are in each fifth. Well, 1/5 has 2 tenths. So 2/5 is the same as saying 4/10. And now they have the same denominator. 4/10 plus 3/10 is 7/10. And we cannot simplify this one, but as we work through, we'll practice the simplificationing of them as well. Okay, does anybody have any questions on Austin? You have a question?
Yeah, so, whenever you did the questions, after you find the least common denominator, would you keep the same numerator and then just add them?
No, I didn't here. I didn't keep the same numerator. I took my 2/5. 2/5. 1/5 was 2/10. So 2/5 was 4/10. So I changed from 2/5 to 4/10. And then when I have the same denominator and my fractions haven't changed the value, then I just add my numerators and the denominator stays the same. Okay? Landon.
When I come back to school, am I allowed to wear my hat?
I have no earthly idea. Okay, any other questions about this assignment? JJ?
How do I just